So, okay, we saw those earlier. It's all about having fun. Okay, so just to kind of, I'm going to try a slideshow mode here. You guys see everything okay? All right, some things people don't know about living in California. It's actually a unique place. The 1% property tax is a very unique thing. The fact that you can own real estate and have it have very limited annual increases. You can buy real estate in Texas and pay as much as 2% per year. So when you think about it, you have to pay inflation, you got to pay taxes, and then you have this property tax of 2%. It's pretty cool to be in California. It's illegal for a local city to charge income tax, unlike New York City. Social Security is tax-free. So in the state of California, you pay no no income tax on Social Security, and the tax OBBBA just gave you an extra tax credit or an extra deduction if you're a Social Security age collector. Lottery winnings, tax-free. No state income tax. And community property state, that's a big deal, but we've talked about that in other events. All right, real quick, how taxes work. You got all the different income and expenses. All we're trying to do is just understand three terms. Ordinary income as a component of your taxable income. We're not going to go too deep on this. All right, here's your tax rates. So again, this is for like the people that want the slides afterwards. New York City has this beat, but if you look here, California is more expensive than New York City at these income levels. So again, for when you check out the slides. All right, we'll start easy. Child tax credit went up to $2,200. And I put this slide up because I wanted to introduce the term, I wanted to introduce the term phase out. Can you guys see my mouse moving? Okay. So the child tax credit phases out. All right, that's going to be important down the road. If the kids are in school as a junior and above, or in college, there's another tax credit there. Okay, so everyone's heard of the SALT deduction. That's gone up. It's gone up. You can itemize your state and local income tax. So what does this mean? It means, what's interesting here? So one thing that's interesting, if you're single, you get the same SALT deduction that one couple gets. So if two single people get married, instead of there being up to $80,000 worth of deduction combined, there's only 40. So that goes into the marriage penalty. We can talk about that. And this phases out. And so the way it phases out is, and this interestingly applies to single and married as well. Same AGI limit. So at $500,000 and above, it phases down. So 30% reduction in the deduction as that goes down. It's actually a pretty large and steep reduction, and it causes your marginal tax rate to be really high. We'll get back into that in a second. Okay, here's a fun one. So back to a little bit easier to understand. So charitable deductions. So first of all, does everybody understand like itemizing versus not itemizing? Kind of, are we okay on that? So if you itemize, that means you list out and get to add up the different receipts, but the standard deduction is quite large. So not this year, but next year, you can get if you're married, a $2,000 deduction without having to itemize. So that means if you do not have a big mortgage or have a lot of state local income tax, you may not itemize. And so if you make a donation to MIT or wherever, you're not going to get any tax incentive from that. But if you wait until January 1st and write that check for $2,000 to your charity of choice, you'll get the full credit for it, so to speak. Now the story switches if you're itemizing, okay? If you're itemizers, you actually have a reduction in how much and this is just to tell you where to live. You guys aren't going to understand this, just to think, okay, I'm making a donation, I'm going to itemize or not, and I'm thinking about writing this check, it's December 31, and the fundraisers are coming, and you can say, you know what, I got an excuse, I'll push it out to January, or vice versa. Okay, seniors, this is a fun one. So $700 of deductions. All right. Now, if you guys signed up, you saw there was an example where a senior couple could make close to $150,000 and pay zero federal income tax. And the reason for that, and that's how that gets back to how the tax code works. So on this slide here, so you add up your income, your ordinary, and then you have your qualified and your long-term capital gains. Your ordinary income, after deductions and adjustments, you can have if you're a senior, you can have 47,000 of this, and it gets wiped out from your deductions. And then there's a 0% tax rate here. I got another place to show that here. So let's go married. We can kind of stretch that out. So if you have enough deductions that you have pulled down your ordinary income, okay, down to zero here. Sorry, that's my calculator. All right, we got that. So now, I thought this would be a nice way to show you the math on that. Okay, so basically, if you're married, you can have $97,000 of capital gains and qualified dividends and pay zero federal income tax. And if you wipe out your ordinary income, if you can move this down here, down to zero, then because of all your deductions, it's kind of hard to... I see a lot of confused faces. Let's try with my hands. So you have all your income, and if you can have 46,000 of deductions, that knocks that down to ordinary income, and then if all you have left is another 97,000 of qualified dividends and capital gains, that's at the zero level, because you start from 0 up to 97 on this blue chart if you're married. So that's how you can have $150,000 of income and have it completely wiped out by taxes. That's the tax code for you. So what does that mean? That means if you're in that zero rate, well, then you can realize capital gains or capture more of them. So that is the meaning of that slide there. Any questions? All right, let's see here. Here's a fun one. Married, filing separate. You don't get any of these provisions. There's no 6,000 senior deduction, no 25K qualified tips. They're really tough on married, filing separate in the tax bill. This is a list of them you guys will see. Here's a fun one. This is the premium health tax credit. So if you're making 100K of AGI, age 60 and 58, you have a $12,000 tax credit, cash savings. That's coming to you this year. That goes away next year. There's a bill they're trying to extend that. It's basically a bunch of free money left over from the pandemic era. It used to be that when your income was above 4 times the poverty line, you didn't get any premium tax credit. But during the pandemic, that's this purple triangle. During the pandemic, they actually let you continue to get that. You could be it's a complicated formula. I actually built this calculator because I wanted an AI project. So you go to ptc.impactadvisor.com. It's this calculator here. The point is, this purple triangle goes away, but they're trying to add it back. So you can have 175K of AGI, adjusted gross income, after you knock out a bunch of expenses out of your business. This is for business owners that have health insurance. They still get a $6,000 tax credit this year. It's gone next year. But the politicians might not let that happen. It's not well understood, but the people that have a business, they know it. Any questions? Here's a fun one, the EV tax credit. Clean vehicle tax credit. So this one has a hard cutoff. So 2 hard cutoffs. If you want to go buy a clean vehicle today, you can still get the tax credit if everything else checks the box. That goes away until Tuesday, September the 30th, to commit to buy the EV. So cars are going to be cheaper on October 1st. But you have to have your income has to be low enough. Your current year or previous year's adjusted gross income. So something to think about from a planning perspective. All right, AMT, this is a tricky one. AMT is coming back. Also not well covered by the press. So I'm going to save this for, is there interest in getting the 60-second version of how AMT works in the crowd? I got one hand, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. All right, so the AMT is an alternative minimum tax. All right, what it is if you have too many of certain types of deductions, it's another formula, and you just calculate both ways and you pay the higher of the two. Usually AMT is lower, but so when the tax reform came out in 2017, they took away the SALT deduction. That was a big factor of AMT. You don't get the SALT deduction if you're an AMT payer. They actually take that away as part of the formula. So the way AMT works today is you start with your taxable income the normal way, and then you take away your SALT deduction, wipe it out. So if you had the full $40,000 deduction, that's gone. So your taxable income is now $40K higher. All right, and then you might have some other of these preference items. If you had ISOs, things that might make it go higher. These all make it go up. Okay, so you take that new higher number, the AMTI, all right, and there's an exemption. So if you're married, they knock out 137K. But that exemption phases out. Remember the phase out? So the exemption phases out at a very large amount, at 1.2 million. So, and it phases out at 25 cents on the dollar. So, anyways, what's changing is the phase out next year is going to happen sooner at $1 million or at 500K single, and it's going to phase out at twice the speed. So it's going to kick in a lot faster. So, first of all, people are going to have this $40,000 self-deduction. Well, that's going to get taken away. So now more of their income is going to start showing up under the AMT calculation, but it doesn't happen until next year. So they kind of like sneak that in because the press doesn't really talk about that too much. And then that's a 26% rate. It really comes up for people with capital gains primarily, where the AMT can kick in. And so it's going to be much worse because the phase out happens faster. So what's an example of the phase out? So this is a calculator. So I built this because I love this stuff. And I want to show you someone who has 250K. This is an extreme example. I know not everybody makes $250,000 in their business, but this is what your marginal tax looks like today, and it scales up in different amounts. And I think we're online here. Yeah, we're looking good. And so the link in the listing here shows this going up to an 80% marginal tax rate. And so while that's calculating, it's not calculating. You know, we'll just go to my hotspot just to play it safe here. I'm going to show you the 100% tax rate if you're self-employed. All right, 100% tax rate if you're self-employed. So in this case, actually, we'll just jump right to it. We're gonna show 3 kids married as an extreme example here. 3 kids married. We'll move this down to an incremental 25,000. Okay. So 3 kids married. We'll bump up some mortgage interest. And so what this is it shows you where taxes. But you know, talk to your tax professional for that one. Lastly, this is a little 2 more QSBS, Qualified Small Business Stock. We have an event coming up. So Jeff Love spoke at our original concentrated stock event. He's a Yale, Stanford guy, really smart. He's part of a FinTech that does like lots of send them a CRUD, charitable readership, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, it's great because they're really helpful at giving information about things. So he's going to speak to if you are if you have an early stage stock. I talked to a guy, fellow alum this week. The company he invested in had IPO'd. He had SBS shares, but they are from before 2010. So those shares, it's complicated, but you get 10 million in cap gains tax-free, but then there's different rules for AMT when they're older. Anyways, guys like Jeff can tell you what you need to punch into ChatGPT. Okay, here's a fun one. This one I'll wrap it up. This is the backdoor SALT deduction. So here, so what changed in the tax? So there was a version of, the original version of the bill, the House bill was going to eliminate the backdoor SALT deduction. This is where you're a business owner, and it's a type where it's a pass-through, so it's an S corp or a partnership. So lawyers, accountants, financial advisors, engineers. So you can actually, they kind of like did this backdoor thing where the states allowed you to pay your state income tax through your business. And so it basically, the previous administration kind of blessed it, and we weren't sure what was going to happen, but the tax bill kept it going. So if you have a business, an S corp, you can pay 9.3% of your state income tax through the business. It lowers your AGI, qualifying you for that clean car credit coming up. It lowers your AGI, thus you get a backdoor SALT deduction. So you can think of it, you can use your $40,000 of SALT can be on your itemized deduction. You can have a certain amount through your PTE. Actually, when I was putting these slides together, and this is the benefit of doing these events, you learn stuff. So I missed this, but 3 months ago, Gavin Newsom lets you, in California, you used to have to pay the first 1,000 by June. So you can actually still do this. They take a little bit away in the first year, but anyways, so there's some, those are the things you want to ChatGPT if you're a business owner, if you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, startup, founder, you name it. So here's the phase outs. Again, that phase out math, it's where they take the deduction away. Like how bad is the phase out or how fast? So the SALT deduction is a 30% phase out. It phases out 30% as fast as your income goes up when you're in that phase out range. Seniors is not so strict. Qualified tips, 10%. Car loan interest, 20%. So anyways, when you're in the phase out, you have no idea what your actual marginal tax rate is. You need a calculator. Man, I have a lot of furrowed brows over here. I'm like trying to really, I know you're not going to get this stuff. This is complicated stuff. But the point is to show you like the things to look up that apply to you. Because at the end of the day, like taxes are like going to a big party with like hundreds of people, and you just can't remember everyone's name. You just kind of get one at a time. You got Bob, you met him 5 years ago, you learned about that part of the tax code, and then they change the rules on you. So the bottom line is like, over time, you just kind of pick up different parts, pull it together, and work with it. So, all right, so we'll wrap at that. If there's no other questions, are there any questions? All right, no questions. Oh man, that's a bad sign. So if you signed up, you guys will get the slides. So make sure you sign up. It's just a click if you're logged in. It's not even a charge. And what's that? Oh, it's go to the FinTech page. So MIT CNC.org/finance, and you'll see the event, and then there's like a drop down. You just have to remember your password for the MIT alumni. So, all right. So this event was also to kind of pull people together and to give you a chance if you guys want to get involved in organizing like this or scheduling something so you're forced to put some slides together. It's great. It's like it's fun. It's like it's social. We're going to do more in-person events. So come up to me or look us up on the website and express interest. We do, one thing I forgot to mention is we do every 2 weeks, we do like twice a month, we'll do like a Thursday afternoon, or Thursday like 11:30ish, Thursday or Wednesday Zoom. We got one Wednesday coming up. And really the hope is like people that are interested in finance, they come on, introduce other people. And if there's like interest in doing something with the club, all the better. But if not, like you get to meet other like-minded people. Another announcement is, I think maybe like the coffee events on Saturdays could be a good way to intermingle finance events. So if there's interest, those are geography based, but you know, if there's like a topic that interests you, you know, my goal as a FinTech lead is to try to help bring those interests of people together. And that, you know, for the in-person event, that's the challenge, is all the geographical limitations. So, all right, so we're gonna quiz. Okay, you guys ready for the quiz? That's the next phase. All right, well, thanks for sticking around, and look us up.